What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of the Right Way podcast. Today, I'm joined by Charlie Everall, coached by AJ, amazing bodybuilder, and a good friend. So excited to chat. I don't think have we ever chat before? Like had a sit down discussion.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We've
I
only
was gonna
met
say,
once in person.
yeah, this is like because we saw each other very briefly at what was it? What rave was it?
I believe it was what was that one called? It was like
One in the
like the
city, was
first
it?
one. It was worried about Henry in the City. It was called oh,
It had a different name, didn't it?
yeah, it was completely new.
Yeah, but like it's
I
one
don't
of
know
those
what it's
things where
called.
like it's weird because I feel like we're very good mates because we just chat on Insta all the time.
Literally,
But
literally.
yeah, excited to get into it. So, first of all, mate, I always like getting an update on people. So let's talk about your diet phase. How did that go?
Oh, good old diet. Well, yeah, it was good. It was very productive. Definitely needed as well. Looking back at the pictures from peak off season,
Yeah.
I was a big old marshmallow, so definitely needed. But no, it was good. Considering like you probably know like how high my food got in off season, I was at like 5,200 calories, something like that.
How many
Uh,
carbs?
Rest days then got down to like 1,700, so pretty savage.
Yeah, that's mad.
My
I'm assuming you didn't
my
do cardio.
body is very, very adaptive. So like we kept having to make like big changes to like see a significant drop, etc. But yeah, 30 pounds down in 12 weeks, done, reversing now, loving life, more carbs. Cannot complain, mate.
What was peak carb intake?
Peak carb, I believe, was 850 carb on a training day
Ugh.
and
How
like
did
750 on a rest day, something like that.
Oh mate, that's not even that big a dip between the two. How did
No, it's not. It's really
how,
not.
how did you find getting that volume of food in?
It was not too bad to be fair. Like I'm pretty good at eating, I'd say. Like I don't know what it is. Like I'm in a diet, I can adapt. I'm not that hungry. Like I wasn't crazy hungry in a diet, and then I'm also not that full in off season. It's weird. But to be fair, as long as I've got loads of Pop Tarts, squares, bars, I'm all good. But yeah, it's all right. It's not too bad. It's more like the timings. That's the biggest thing for me. Is like making sure I get up early to eat enough, and
Mhm.
then obviously not staying up too late to get the food in, etc. It's like biggest thing for like getting in a lot of food is routine. That's like literally the biggest thing.
I think a lot of people neglect that, especially like individuals who first get into bodybuilding. Like, I mean, I'm quite flexible now with when I first started, I was always like, oh, I'll do it the macro way. And I think a lot of people still do it that way. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I think if you're going into a gaining phase and you want to see serious results, if you don't have some sort of structure like in place, like even now, I'm at 510 carb. And don't get me wrong, I could probably wing it, but realistically, is that going to be leading to my best results? Am I going to be consistent with that? Probably not. And
Yeah.
when you get to that point in off season where you're like getting to like, I'd say from like 600 carb, like if you don't have a plan in place, you're either going to miss it. And if you miss
Yeah,
one eating window, like just trying to get that volume of food in, your digestion goes out the window, everything turns to shit. And you just like,
yeah,
for me as well, it's always like trying to break it up as effectively as possible to avoid like, don't get me wrong, with that volume of carbs anyway, you're always going to see like massive rises in like blood sugar and drops in blood sugar. So you're going to like
yeah,
eat your pre-workout
definitely.
meal and you're sitting there and you feel like you're about to go into a coma.
Yeah,
But
literally.
like now the structure's there, it's a lot easier to do. If anyone's listening to this and you're going into your off season, you're thinking like, oh, I can't get this amount of food in, plan ahead because it's
Yeah,
so vital,
literally.
so vital. Um, with AJ from because I've talked to Josh before, and
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've heard Adam talk about it as well. He doesn't when you go into dieting phases, and from the sounds of things, what you said with your calorie manipulations, I'm assuming you didn't do any cardio, no?
So we only did 30 minutes on a rest day. So like not that much, like 30 minutes like once or twice a week,
Mhm.
depending on like how the training fell.
Mhm. And do you know like his thinking behind that? Because like obviously I know it's very person dependent, but like for me, for example, if I was taking someone through a diet phase and I had them on that higher calorie, I would always go to the approach of like I'd want to keep calories as high as possible, especially carbohydrates, just from a training performance standpoint.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
did you obviously, I know you know you're gonna be making sure your training's on point, but did you see any kind of major dips within your kind of training when you actually pulled that kind of amount of carbs down, or?
A little bit like towards the end, mainly on like the bigger movements like deadlifts, like just felt meh. Like they just felt like I was going into them and I just felt broken.
Not
But
unreal.
then also like to be fair, like it wasn't too bad for like the majority of it. It was just towards the end, especially because like I needed like a deload or a devolume because I hadn't had one for like the whole of the diet phase. So that on top of like really low food just didn't go well with training.
Mhm.
Because I got to a point where there's probably about 2 or 3 weeks left where I started to like flag up some fatigue, and I was just like, well, there's no point doing it now. Let's just finish it strong. And then towards the end, it was just a bit of a shit show, and I was just felt awful. But in terms of like the cardio side of things, I think the majority, well, me myself, I just react. I just don't like cardio. Basically, I just
I
don't.
don't think anyone enjoys cardio, to be
No, I mean, nah, there are some freaks out there
honest.
that love it, but
True.
I don't enjoy cardio that much and would rather just have a bit lower food. Obviously, I think if it got to a point where, like in a prep scenario, for example, where the rate of loss was a bit slower, potentially like a little bit more cardio added in and therefore a little bit more food. But in this mini cut phase, the goal was just to get in and out as quickly as possible. So therefore, an extra like 30 minutes of cardio or drop 50 carb. 50 carbs are going to do a lot more damage in terms of like fat loss
Oh yeah,
than
100%.
a little bit of cardio, you know. So I think the goal was just to get in and out as quickly as possible. And if that meant food getting fairly low, then so be it, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna ask you about like what was the time period? Like how long were you actually in that mini cut for?
So just 12 weeks,
Just
literally
12
just
weeks.
bang on 12 weeks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't really want it to go on any longer than possible. But yeah, 12 weeks, it was pretty much done. So we were pretty happy.
No, it makes sense because I was gonna say, obviously, like I had that initial concern, but I think, you know, obviously from your experience as well, like I think a lot of people will think, oh, that initial such a big jump is going to see like training performance, rapidly decline. But realistically, within a 12-week time frame, it's not that long a period of time. And if you're only in it for that period of time, you can be a lot more aggressive with it. Like if you were doing a lot longer than that, obviously, then be
Yeah.
a bit more smarter, maybe then, make manipulations to cardio and expenditure. What was your expenditure at?
So just 10,000 steps a day,
Okay.
and then obviously 30 minutes on the rest day. But then also you've got to consider that like I was on 850 carbs, so I had plenty of food to drop. Like
Yeah.
I could be on 400 carb and like I'd still be absolutely fine, you know. Whereas like some people who start their like or finish their off season on like 400, and then they've got like no runway for like the diet if they're going through like a long diet phase. But yeah, I think like if we were doing like another 3 weeks or so, probably maybe a little bit more food drop, and then probably expenditure would go up.
Mm-hmm. Um, and how were you feeling at like peak off season? Was there like clear indicators that you like needed to dip into that diet phase?
Um, Not so much like from just a general like feeling standpoint. Main thing was just like appetite. And then obviously towards the end of my off season, I went on holiday for a week, like all inclusive, and then that just like finished me off. Luckily, like it's the first day I got back, like started dieting, but like there was no way that I could come back and like go back to eating 850 carb. Like I don't know I can't remember what it dropped to like initially, but even that for like first few days was a struggle.
Were
Like
you just going like ham at all you can eat buffets?
yeah, but I wasn't really like
Oh, well,
I
you
was
be smart
just
about
enjoying myself.
it.
I was enjoying myself, but I think I lost like 3 pounds like in that week whilst I was away. Um, but yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Nice. Um, I always ask everyone this because I'm always curious what is people's like reason for getting into bodybuilding. How did you actually start, and how did you kind of get the bug? God, that was so cringe. Get the bug, bro.
Oh, oh, such a
That's
cringe.
almost as bad as in the trenches.
Yeah, mate. Everyone's
Oh,
literally just clicked off this podcast right now.
yeah. Sorry, guys.
Terrible, terrible. So basically, it just like was like well skinny. Like when I was growing up, like probably like 60 kilos soaking wet, like just absolute nothing to me. Then like the gyms, like where I was from, you had to be like 16, I think, to join, 16, 17 to join. So obviously, when I hit that age, I was like, yeah, right, straight in the gym, come on. And then just started training, and then not really like taking it that seriously. Obviously, like I went to the gym, had no idea about nutrition like whatsoever. And then just sort of like as time went on, kept training, kept learning a little bit more. And then like met a few people like throughout the industry, like PTs and stuff. And like sort of like just kept gaining more and more knowledge. And then lockdown came, and that was just like, oh fuck, what now? You know? And then that's where I discovered JP, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Because like everything just like leveled up then. I was like, right, that whole lockdown I spent like just like learning about like nutrition, training, like what to actually do. And then as soon as like the gyms were open again, like 6 months or whenever it was later, that was it, straight in, no messing around.
Is that when you initially started working with AJ as well?
No, I sort of, so after the lockdown, I can't remember like the exact like time frame, but like when I think lockdown ended, maybe like July, I think around June, July, like midsummer. And I started working with AJ in like the November. So probably about like what, 4 or 5 months after sort of getting back into it.
Mm-hmm. And what made you want to join AJ? Was that literally from seeing him on the Train by JP site, or?
Not so much that. Like I think I've followed his YouTube a little bit. One who else was like George Osborne. Obviously I trained with him like a couple of times like prior. I think in like 2019, like throughout his prep. Because he literally lives like 30 minutes away from mine. But so I trained with him a couple of times, and I knew he was coached by AJ. So that's who I sort of like discovered who he was, and just sort of like followed his stuff along. And then like sort of like in deciding of when to get a coach, like at that point, like AJ was like what he still is, like the top of like natural coaches. And I was thinking to myself, like, obviously there's gonna come with a cost of that. But then at that point I was just like, well, am I just gonna get a coach for like a year or two and then go to AJ, or should I just say fuck it and just go straight to him, you know? And that's what I did.
And at that time, were you coaching yourself? Were you working like a different job? What was the situation there?
Oh mate, those are the horrible days, the worst days. They were so I wasn't like coaching really back then. I was literally just working like a regular like 9 to 5 like retail job. Absolutely hated it, mate. Absolutely hated it.
Retail.
Worked so long. I was literally like spending like a quarter of my wage just on like AJ and like bodybuilding and stuff. And it was great. But yeah, I wasn't coaching, I wasn't doing anything of that. And then sort of like just continue to improve my knowledge, and then was like, right, okay, coaching, we can see where this goes, and then taking steps forward, and here we are.
And what do you remember like what weight you started at with AJ compared to now? Because you're quite tall, aren't you? You're like 6 foot.
Yeah, so I'm like 6'1".
6'1". Okay. And you said obviously you were skinnier growing up, and I can't remember your last update because that would be fucking weird.
Yeah.
But you're like, am I right in thinking like you got up to like 90s?
What, 90, what, in peak off season?
Yeah, in kilos or
Yeah, so I got to 100 kilos.
yeah, that's mad. That's
Yeah.
mad.
I don't know what the kilo is that I started with AJ, but I know we started at like 175 pounds,
Mhm.
whatever that is. And then I think the peak off season I got to 222. So that's like 50 pounds
Crazy. How
in
did
the
you how
course
did
of
you
like.
find that first push up?
So the first push was from 175 to 210.
Mhm.
And that was good. That was across a year and a half.
Mhm.
That was good. That was like, looking back, that is like exactly what I needed. Like anyone who's like really skinny and just want to like bulk up, you just need to spend time in like an off season, like a good chunk, like year and a half, just like solid, like just stick at it. Like, yeah, you're gonna be fat in the summer, but it doesn't matter. Like in years to come, you'll be so thankful, and I am so thankful that I did it. But yeah, that first push up like taught me a lot in terms of like how far I can actually push it, and just being uncomfortable in terms of body fat. And then obviously after that we dieted, we did like a little mini cut, but that first diet that we did together was pretty shocking because I ended up getting food poisoning.
Oh,
So basically
rapid rate of loss.
we weren't losing any weight, and then all of a sudden I dropped like 8 pounds in a week, and I was like, well, diet's over. um so then obviously then the second push was like a year, which is the one I've just done, and then a 12-week mini cut, and now we're pushing again.
Okay. Okay. Like what you said there, like I wish I was smart like you, and I just went into a massive push up. But like I was the exact opposite because I started as like skinny fat, and I was like, right, I'll diet down, and I think I dieted down to like 65 kilos, and then we pushed up to 80, and then
Was that when you were working with Tom?
yeah, that's when I was working
Yeah,
with
you were peeled, mate.
yeah, and then we pulled back down to 62, which was so light. And I look
Yeah.
back at that, and I remember after that photo shoot, I was like, mate, bodybuilding, this is easy. I'm massive. And now I look back at those shots, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you've got nothing on your frame, mate. And then like I've always found it really hard in the off season to push up, just because I've always had struggles with like my mental because I was a fat kid growing up. But I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm now finally in the position where like I love bodybuilding, and I'm like, I actually want to do this. I actually have ambitions to compete and actually do well. And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
especially even if you're not competing, like Charlie said, there's so much value in just pushing up for a period of time, because you know it's where you're going to grow the most. It's where you're going to enjoy training the most, and if you can fall in love with that side of the process, it's so easy to fall in love with dieting.
yeah.
It's so
100.
easy. Like,
Yeah,
of course, if you're looking in the mirror weekly and you're seeing changes, you're seeing veins you've never seen before, you're looking shredded, all this kind of stuff, that's fine. But like, you know, gaining each week, if you're just focusing on the visual, it's like you said in your post yesterday. If you're just looking at the visual and you're like, oh, this is
yeah.
shit.
Your bulk's gonna be like 3 months long, mate.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, this is shit. But if you focus on the training performance aspects, like you need to change that mindset towards from like aesthetics to training. And then
Yeah,
once you do that, easy, mate.
yeah.
Easy.
Literally.
Um, Competing, talk to me about
There we go. So when I joined AJ, the initial goal was to do this year,
that. Mhm.
because this is the last year as a junior this year. I can't do juniors anymore. But obviously, I'm not competing. Look at my face. Doesn't look peeled to me, does it?
Bro, you
Uh,
don't even have a round face though. I don't think
Mate,
I don't think you look bad at all.
it's not bad at the minute, but give me a few weeks, mate. It'll be full blown round. Like when I upload some pictures of the side by side of the diet, you'll see, and you'll be like, actually, no, you were fat.
This is why I've implemented the beard protocol.
Yeah,
Early
mate.
on. I'm smart.
No, I can't grow a beard for shit, mate. So
Uh, just glue
just
one on, mate.
accepting it. Um, so yeah, plans have changed. Obviously, I'm not doing this year. 2025, that is the year.
Okay.
No
Okay.
changes.
Is
Go on.
what's the reason behind not wanting to compete this year? Do you just not think you'd be competitive, or is it like you just want to spend more time where you are currently, or
Mainly because I just don't think I'm big enough.
Mhm.
Like literally just down to that. I think like the last off season, I think like has like leveled me up, and like after doing this diet phase, I definitely feel like I'm getting there in terms of the standard. I don't think I'm there yet. I think another big push, like another year push, and then 2025, I think I'll be fairly competitive. Hopefully anyway. Um, but yeah, I just wanted like regardless of like what category, or even when I signed up with AJ, like when I said to him, I was like, I don't care when it is, I don't care how long I have to wait. Like I'll compete when I'm competitive and when I'm ready. Like it doesn't have to be like a certain year that I have to do this. And it was interesting because like only up until probably a few months ago, I was like set on 2025. And that was mainly because like, well, one, Adam's like doing 2025, so we'll do it together. That'll be quite cool.
that'd be sick.
But two, I went up to train with AJ like I think towards the end of my off season, and we were talking about competing and stuff. And he was literally like, "You need to stop thinking about maybe 2025, maybe 2026. You need to just get after it and just be like, you need to focus on 2025 and just be like, yeah, I'm doing it, and be confident about it. Otherwise, it will come round and you won't feel confident about it. You won't enjoy the process. You'll be overthinking it too much. So you need to like stop thinking, oh, maybe I'll do 2025, maybe 2026, who knows, blah, 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 and just set a year and just go for it. Like you're going to be ready. I know you will be. Just get after it, sort of thing. So
It's
that's sort of like the approach I'm taking now.
no, it's the smartest approach, and I think you're doing the right thing in terms of not rushing. Like I know that everyone's like, oh, the stage will always be there, but like I think like I'm not saying it. This is no indirect or be like, oh, I'm sending for people, but like I think a lot of people like rush into the stage, like rush to get
100%.
on there. And
And
I think if you're younger and you have that time on your side, especially as like a natural athlete, I think it's definitely really good to just get the experience and understand like, is this for me? Do I actually want to, you know, put my time into this and actually pursue
yeah,
this? As well as just getting that the overall experience, you know, just seeing what it's like. But I think if you have competitive aspects, aspirations, uh, there really is no rush. Like
yeah,
there's no point in just rushing for the sake of getting on there. Um, and as well, I think you really need to like I feel like a lot of people kind of underplay how much you kind of have to commit to it and kind of just like lock yourself kind of out. Because like, don't get me wrong, you can still have fun and prep and all this kind of stuff, but I think like if you want to be serious about it and you want to like really, you know, perform at your highest standards, you really do have to kind of commit to the process. And I think a lot of people just think like, oh, you know, I can just diet down, and it's not as simple
yeah.
as that. Like
No,
I
not if you
remember
want to do it
saying,
well.
yeah, I remember saying to Max like at the end of my diet phase, I was just like, oh, I feel like I could prep, and he was just like, mate, if you were to prep right now, you would be dieting for so much longer. And like he put it into like he like made me realize like holy shit, I'm nowhere near. There's like levels to it, and I was just like,
Yeah,
I'm glad I've kind of waited and not rushed into it, because I feel like if I tried to compete like definitely like last year or the year before, I definitely would have lost my head.
yeah.
Um,
So would I. Like, I know for a fact that if I'd have like rushed to compete like either this year or last year or whatever, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. Like, and I probably would have ended up never competing again.
hmm. And that's
Like,
the one thing. Like you like it's hard because you want to like on one hand, because like all my mates at the moment, and I'm sure it's similar to you, like working with Adam, when you see people compete, you're like, oh mate, I want to do this, because it just look, you see like the end result, but you don't know like internally how they're feeling. You see them for like
yeah,
a couple hours of the day and all this kind of stuff, but you do get that bug. But at the same time, you have to be realistic with yourself, and you have to be like, look, am I in a position right now where I could actually do this? Is my
yeah.
physique actually going to be, you know, competitive? All these kind of things you have to take into kind of account. On the topic of Adam, how did that relationship come around?
So basically, so I moved to the coach gym, started training there probably for like maybe 2 months. And then Adam actually joined the coach, and I was in there training, just like minding my own business, you know. And I had no idea who he was, like no idea. And he
Just
was
heard him
speaking to
coming
the
in
gym
from the
owner.
car park walking with his massive quads.
Yeah, literally. He was speaking to the gym owner, and he was like, "Oh, has anything changed since Charlie joined, like in terms of equipment?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "I swear, he just spoke. Who's that? Who's that?" Chatting about me over there. And then found out, fucking dude,
Charlie was on job, mate. He was like,
yeah,
what?
mate, I was ready to fucking do anything. You ain't catching me out. Um, but yeah, I so then obviously like I realized he was coached by AJ, and obviously AJ was doing his programming, etc. And we just started like chatting, like just saying hello and stuff. Like we chatted for a bit on that like first day, etc. And that was it really. Like obviously he was like coaching, I think at that time, I think, I'm not sure. Yeah, he must have been. So he was like training in the day. I was training like in the day, like on my days off, and then like in the evenings, like obviously after work, etc. So I'd see him like maybe a couple of times a week here and there. And then we were just like chatting, we'd say hello, etc. And then we were like, oh, we should get a session in sometime, sort of thing. You know how you do. Oh yeah, let's get a session, bro.
Yeah.
Uh, so anyway, then we did get a session in. I think we got one. Yeah, we got a session in, and then literally, I think a week later, I handed in my notice at work, and then I was like, I'm leaving my job in like 3 weeks. Do you want to train together like full time? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So then we just started training together and trained together throughout the whole of last year, like throughout his prep. And yeah, it was pretty sick to be fair.
Sick. That's sick. What because I was gonna ask, like at that point when you started working with him, how was he kind of established in the industry? Because I don't know like the I'm trying to think when I first started following Adam. I know I followed him before he won like his natural Olympia, but I
Yeah,
remember following him initially, and I was like, this guy has like massive potential. But like
yeah.
when you started training with him, was he kind of like because I feel like now you say Adam Powe, people just know immediately who he is,
Yeah,
especially if you're into natural bodybuilding. At that
yeah,
time, did he have that kind of influence, or was it just like
not at all. Like we were like he was like, I'll say it now. Anyone who's looking to compete and like actually grow their socials off it,
Mm.
look how Adam did it, because he's literally done it to a T. He started like back when we like first met, like I think he had like maybe an extra like 1,000 followers instead of me, like ahead of me. So I think he was only on like 3,000, 3,500 followers, something like that. And obviously now he's on like what 16,000 like a year later. So yeah, like obviously it comes like with the success, like in terms of like competing and like winning shows, etc. Obviously that's going to get you a few followers, but yeah, like in terms of like the content he produced and stuff, like he absolutely nailed it.
Mm-hmm. And what have your like biggest takeaways been like working, well, training with him directly?
So obviously at the start, like it was good because I hadn't really trained with anyone like consistently, like ever. I've always trained on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was good in terms of like taking force reps, like actually pushing myself like to failure and stuff. And probably just taking my like training experience and like just actual like failure points to like a whole new level. Because we at the start, like obviously when he was like in off season, we'd take like 4 force reps on everything. It was great. Like it was so fun. And then obviously throughout prep, like I got to basically like prep him because he was I'd see him every single day. The amount of times I counted to 8 every single pose is ridiculous. I must have taken about 2,000 photos on his phone of his posing, etc. But basically, like literally firsthand saw what it's like to go through a prep, but that opened my eyes massively in terms of like how he's feeling. Towards the end of the prep, we didn't like train together that much. Like we'd go in, we'd have the same session, we'd go into the gym at the same time together, we'd do the first exercise together, and then he'd just speed off because he doesn't want to spend that much in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it opened my eyes massively in terms of like how it is to approach stuff on prep, like how you are, just general mood and stuff. And yeah, it was like a massive eye opener and definitely like taught me a lot in terms of like my own coaching skills and stuff and like what to look for in terms of physiques and stuff. And obviously like obviously had a look, you know, Josh obviously went to see him the other week and had a look over him and obviously gave my feedback to AJ because he was like, yeah, you know, you looked at Adam every day pretty much for the last year. You know what a physique looks like. Tell me what you think about Josh. And obviously gave him my feedback. So yeah, just like definitely helped in terms of like leveling up my competitive knowledge. Because that was like the first real prep that I've followed like in person sort of thing.
Mm. And like I like obviously I've never really been around. Well, actually, I mean, I've seen Max in person when he's like competing, and I've been around like recently because my circle's it's kind of shifted from like outside kind of like school friends I had. Now it's more like the majority of my mates are either on Insta or it's just people who do bodybuilding. So I feel like I've kind of intertwined myself in this life a lot more now. Um, what what is it you're kind of looking for when like for example when you were looking over Josh, what or Adam, like what kind of feedback do you give to AJ?
So like in terms of like Josh, obviously I saw him like at the BNBF. So
Mm.
AJ was literally like, tell me if he's improved. Like, what do you actually think? Because obviously, when it like when you're coaching someone, it can get a little bit hard. Like obviously, when you're at AJ's level, like it doesn't matter. Like you've got the eye, you know what's going on. But like when you see someone like very frequently, like it can get a little bit blurred. Um, but when obviously I hadn't seen Josh for probably 2 weeks before I saw him, and then so obviously saw him on the show, and then hadn't seen him for about 2 weeks, and then went and trained with him. So AJ was like, right, go and have a look at him, see what you think. Let me know your feedback. And basically just looking for like detail. Obviously, Josh needs a bit more like to come off like the glutes and hams and like just sort of let him know like if you think he's on track, etc. And he definitely was like, and obviously ended up winning classic, which is mad the other week.
So
But yeah, just like looking at like where he's sort of at, like if he's progressing in terms of like what needs to come off. So like with Josh, more that needed to come off was literally off the glutes and hams. Like everything else was pretty much there. Upper body, lower back was pretty much in. Just more off the glute and ham, and that's just like mainly feedback, and it came off, and yeah, he did pretty well.
Mhm. Um, and I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to this, but are you in terms of like your competitive aspects, are you like dead set on the natural route, or what is the plan there?
Big secret. I'm actually gonna go assisted. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was about to say bombshell. Literally
Mind
on Instagram,
blown.
Charlie Everall's on gear, bruh. That's
No, I'm
fun.
not. Nah, natural pretty much forever, to be fair.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely
And is,
just
is that is that just
natural.
due to not worth the risk for you, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, just not it's not worth the risk in terms of health. I think where I want to be like in terms of like coaching and things like that is like definitely more worth it just to stay natural. Again, like I'm not going to be an IFBB pro Olympian if I take gear. So for me, it's just not really worth it, you know.
You never know,
Uh,
man. You never know. You might be a hyper responder.
yeah, you never know. Let me just cut off 20 years of my life to test
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Um, cool, cool. Did you get any questions? I don't know if I actually did. Let me check.
Yeah, I think I got some.
Okay, fantastic. Because I don't know. Once it did I? Let me see. Question box. Question box. Where is? Oh, okay. Here we go. I was like, I've got a random DM from someone. Who is this?
Is it one of my clients?
It is one of your clients.
Yeah, he DM'd me. He was like, he dropped me a text. He was like, "Yeah, I've asked the question." I was like, "Yeah, it better be a good one."
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna like this question, mate.
That's great.
It's from Jay Push Pull Pod, who says, ask Charlie why he's the best coach. Why are you the best coach, Charlie?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I allow him to do conventional deadlifts and he pulls like 5 plates or something. I don't know.
That's wild. That's
He's
wild.
wild. I don't know. He should be answering that, mate. I can't answer that.
Get him on the phone. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only question I got, mate. Did
Okay.
you have
Fair
any?
enough. Well, let's talk about coaching quickly.
Okay.
How's your coaching going, mate?
It's good. Like this is how do I explain this? I I feel like for the longest time, right, I was just kind of I feel like I had this initial spike when I first got into bodybuilding where I was really trying. And I
Mm.
think, you know, I still work in retail. I work at Sainsbury's. I work at a gym doing reception on the weekends, and like I do PT here and there.
Mm.
And I think there was a certain until I started with Max, I think I just got comfortable, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. Like I just stopped putting effort in. I wasn't posting on Instagram. I was half-assed in my diet, all this kind of stuff. Like I was getting macros from shit sources. Don't get me wrong, I was still training, but like I think I just kind of accepted like, oh, it's just not gonna work out. Um, and I think really being around Max and just like I don't know, like I've bounced around a lot of coaches, and I've said it since like Tom was the first coach I ever had where I was like, I feel like I have a genuine connection with this guy.
Yeah.
And
Love
I think
Tom.
he's such a G. And after that, I feel like I bounced around for a bit. I went with like Taylor James Johnson, who was also a great coach. But I feel like after that, I just kind of like lost my head. I fell out of love with the process, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to go to coaches where the industry is kind of saying like these are good coaches instead of
Yeah.
like, I think I always say that like I've said it on my Instagram loads of times, and I think it's so important for anyone considering a coach. Don't just look at social following. Don't look at, oh, like don't get me wrong, yeah, of course, to a certain extent, you want to make sure they know what they're doing. But
Yeah.
like do you actually enjoy this person? Do you have a good relationship? I feel like one of the biggest things to look for in a coach is like you need someone who inspires you and you
Yeah.
need someone who you look up to and like even want to be like or you want to impress. Like as as weird and like I'm not like a worshiper to Max, but like I'm like
Definitely worship him, don't you?
yeah, I'm just like, ugh. But like every single day, I'm like, I want to send like shots to Max. I want Max to be like, this is fucking mint. You're improving, and like I genuinely like I crave that shit.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the group and the circle I've kind of developed from Max has just I don't know, it's made me realize like and I think especially after that diet phase, because I feel like I don't think it's hard because I am very hard on myself, and I think a lot of people in bodybuilding are, especially when you're looking at your physique every day, all this kind of stuff. But I got very into the headspace of like comparing myself to others, and like I'm sure you've gone through it as well. Like my feed literally just used to be IFBB Pro, IFBB Pro, IFBB Pro, and I was like, why don't I look like that? And I was like, oh, gear, yeah. But like, yeah, I just feel like it made me realize that I can actually do so much more. And I feel like at the moment, especially coming out of this diet phase, going into this improvement phase, I don't like post on social media about it. I'm not like, I'm not one of those people who's just like, oh, I'm working really hard. But like, I am genuinely right now, I am, I'm, I refuse to let this be a dream. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if I have to work 90 hours. I don't give a shit if I have to, like, obviously, I'm still being smart. I'm still getting 8 hours sleep. I'm still hitting all my meals, but I am not letting anything go to like everything is planned. Like every hour of my day is structured. I know what I need to do. All my meals are prepped first thing in the morning, so I'm not missing a meal. Like I am not letting anything be left to chance. And
Mm.
I think for anyone listening to this, because I feel like a lot of coaches go through this process, and I'm sure you were similar as well. I think when you start, in a way, I think you're kind of a little bit delusional. You just think you're going to post like 2 training clips, and you're just going to have people like flock to you and be like, "Yeah,
Literally. Yeah,
I
literally.
want to be trained by you, mate." And it isn't the case, you know.
No.
Uh, you really do need to show up, and I think something else is like you need to treat it like it's already your job.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
because
much.
I wasn't doing that. I was literally I'd post a story of like a picture of oats and be like, yeah, I'm eating food. And then and then it'd be like once a week, it'd be like here's me training. And then like it get to the end of the week and I'd be like, why have I had no coaching inquiries?
Yeah,
What's going on? I literally
yeah,
posted a picture of my oats with whey paste on it. Isn't this how it's supposed to work? I wear train by JP and Gasp. What is happening?
yeah. What's going on? These are
Yeah,
the
like why
secrets, not.
why have I had no one inquire about coaching? Um, but yeah, I feel like at the moment, like, and I feel like this will show in the next YouTube because this is like, oh mate, I was editing it before this, and it's like I I think I've missed the most like a creative outlet. Like I don't know why. I love creating shit. Like I genuinely do. Like I have a passion for just like the two things I love in life are create literally like doing something creative and then just helping people and seeing people achieve their like whatever it is in life. Like if you're passionate about something, like Max's brother, like yesterday, I sent him a message because he's like doing
Oh, I
six
saw it. Yeah, yeah. I
DK.
saw it on
Like
Instagram.
I saw Max's video of it, and it genuinely got me like really emotional because I was like,
Yeah,
this guy has grafted his arse off. I've seen him do it since the start, where like he was literally like, I remember a story Max put up, and it was like, oh, Harvey made this, and it was like him on his phone mixing on his phone, and I was like,
really.
oh, that's pretty sick. And then Max uploads a video, and he's mixing at a festival. He was on a it's not called a card. I'm thinking of like UFC. It was on like a rave event with like Chase and Status the other day.
Yeah, yeah,
It's mental how he's
yeah.
done that in such a small time frame, and like I love seeing that shit. I completely went off that question, mate. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. I
it's
didn't
all right. But
cut
that
you
that
off.
just goes to show that why you should pick a coach that like inspires you because both Max and
Mm,
Harvey as well
mm,
have both like worked fucking hard for where
mm,
they're at. Like credit to both of them.
mm,
And now it's also reflecting in you, your journey as like a bodybuilder, but also as a coach.
mm. 100%.
Like over like since you joined Max, like you can just see like in the way you are in terms of like not only your content but like your physique, the diet itself.
Mm.
Like this is the best you've been, and I'm sure it's the best you've been mentally as well.
Oh,
In a long
100%.
time.
And I think that's something massive as well. Like I feel like there's a very big difference in coaches in terms of there are certain coaches who will get you a result, don't get me wrong, but I feel
Mm.
like there's also a side where if you go to those massive names, there might be a chance that they won't develop that relationship because you're
Yeah,
more just it's
just
hard
a
to
number.
say. You're just a number. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because their career is based off getting results, whereas like Max is just like he's like a big brother to me. That's how I
yeah,
see him. Like
literally.
he checks in all the time. Like we just chat, we chat shit. and it's sick, and it honestly has, like, I think talking to him, me and Max, like, not the exact same, but me and Max have had very similar journeys in terms of, like, we've both had kind of like big dips in mental health. We've both like worked jobs where we really fucking hated it to try and get where we are, and to see where he is now, knowing how much time and effort he's applied himself, and to see, that come to fruition where he is, currently. I think that's just what's lit the fire, because I think for a while I was a bit directionless, because maybe not the coaches I were with, but I kind of lacked that kind of like mentor or role model, because I'm sure it's the exact same with you, with AJ, because I remember watching AJ's old videos of him like in his room with like the whiteboard behind him.
Oh yeah, the classic ones.
And like to see where he is now, like coaching top natural athletes, has his own website, has his own clothing brand, like it's wild. And like if you're into bodybuilding, like even enhanced bodybuilding, like AJ Morris is like a household name. Like, do you know what
literally.
I mean? It's crazy.
Literally.
And I think for anyone watching this, like you really, I think the biggest takeaway I've had from this whole process is, like, as cringy as it sounds, like you do define your own limits. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it will be easy by any means to get where you want, and like this is testing me, but I feel like this is going to be able to transfer over to, I'm putting in all this work now, and I'm working extremely hard, and I'm still working at doing stuff I don't really want. So if this gets to a position where I can make online coaching my full job, like how much better, how much, like, the idea of performing under that pressure will seem a lot less, from the standpoint that, if I can work hard at something I hate, how hard will I be able to work at something I love?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
That was a good
time. Did you have any more, or
what questions?
Yeah.
Yes, I've got a few. Someone said, Omars_Jim said, will I PR more if I wear baggy clothes to the gym?
I believe there is a 20% anabolic increase in muscles and overall, just, I was trying to think of some words there, but I couldn't.
Alpha male levels just go through the roof.
Yeah, your testosterone's boosted by at least 20%. Mate, the thing is, right, and so many people slag it off, like, to be fair, I used to wear Gasp and I don't wear it anymore, but I think that's just because my kind of choice in like clothing has changed. Like, I just prefer that's a lie. It's actually because I'm extremely cheap and I'm trying to save money, and I get Vanquish because you can wear it out. Like, I can't go out and I can't like go out with my mates wearing like Gasp,
like a giant killer t-shirt and just
it'd be like my mum the other day, because I normally wear like my Gasp stuff around the house, because I can't lie, it's comfy as fuck. Like, it might not look the most appealing, and you're not a fashion icon, but like, I tell you what, those baggy trousers, mate, are the best. Like, lounge.
so good.
They're so cozy, mate. And she was like, is that your dad's shirt? And I was like, no, it's not. And she was like, why doesn't it fit you? And I was just like, look, you don't understand cream of rice. You're not going to understand it, right? Just relax, okay? It doesn't correlate in her head.
Bless her. I've got a good one. This might go on for a while, but there's two questions. Well, no, it's basically one. But how often do you think it's acceptable to go off plan for a night out when you don't compete but take it seriously? And then the guy said, I feel like 1 to 2 times a month is a happy medium for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very person dependent. I mean, in my opinion, what you need to do is, like, look, is one night out here and there gonna mean you're not gonna be competitive? No. Like, the way I see it is, the most important thing, and I don't think it's talked about enough, is, especially as an athlete, is managing your mental health. Like, because you can stick to a meal plan 100%, but say, for example, you've been doing that for 3 months and you're literally at breaking point because you haven't ate anything but cream of rice and plain rice for the last 3 months, and you want a wing stop or something. I mean, I want a wing stop. I literally messaged Max on my check-in this morning. I was like, please, can I have a Wingstop?
I have no idea what Wingstop is, mate. So
Oh my God. Everyone roast Charlie in the comments. I swear to God, this man has no culture. How do you not know what Wingstop is? It's so good.
what is it?
Imagine KFC, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Right, I'm gonna search up where the nearest Wingstop is.
Mate, it's like all right, I'll tell you my order, right? You get the I can't even remember what it's called because I haven't had it in that long. Basically, you get like it's like a chicken wing place, but I get boneless wings and they do them in like different sauces, and you get like 8 boneless wings. Like, so you get
Is it
4.
like fancy chicken, like fancy fried chicken?
No, but not. It's not even fancy. It's just really like for 20 quid, right? You get 8 boneless wings, 4 tenders, a drink, fries, and like dipping sauce, and it's mate, it's so good. Like, I swear on my life. And it's ranch. It's the ranch dipping sauce. Like anyone who's had Wingstop, I swear on my life, like the things I would do for ranch right now, it's disgusting. Anyways, back to the question.
Back to the question.
Yeah, I think it's important to manage like your mental, because if your say your trajectory is going like this, right? And you know it's increasing every single week and you're doing fine, but all of a sudden you've gone, like for me, for example, I feel like the reason I wasn't consistent was I was so hard on myself to the point where I wasn't even enjoying it. Like I've talked about it so many times. I was the guy who would wait in the gym for an hour and a half because I needed to do my exercises in the exact order. Like, stop being a gimp. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not going to lose all your gains because you can't do that cool down variation. But whatever suits that person. Obviously, don't take the piss with it. Like if you're going out drinking, it's very person dependent, because my version of going out and drinking might be different to yours. Like for me, example, when I went to Vegas, I had this really weird thing where I drank and I woke up severely hungover the next day, and I was like, this isn't for me anymore. I just don't want to drink because it isn't worth it. So I rarely drink. That's not me saying I will never drink again. Like in the summer, I will go to a pub garden with my mates because I enjoy it. It's nice. And at Christmas, I might have a drink as well. But you know, that person's version of getting drunk might be like, I'm blacked out, and now for the next 2 days, my training's affected. I'm going to order a Domino's the next day because I feel absolutely shit. I feel like it's about finding a balance. Figure out what works for you. You know, if you are smart about it, you can do it a lot more regular. You know, if you're going out you could go out once a week if you're being really smart about it. If you're planning stuff, if you're taking food and drink into consideration, if you're taking like supplements, like if you go out drinking, you take like glutathione and you're, you know, drinking a lot of water and like, is it zinc? Or I don't know, one of them. There's another one that helps. But like, if you're regulating these things like very smartly, you could do it weekly, but like very person dependent is what I'd say.
Yeah, it is very person dependent. Also, what constitutes like a going out, like if you're just having 1-2 drinks and then driving home, or you're going all out, like Lou said, like you're just going all out, blackout, and just not remembering the night whatsoever. But no, you can still, like, you've got to have that like balance like within your life, and realistically at the end of the day there is a lot more to life than just going to the gym. Now like every IFB pro bodybuilder whatever may say, no, the gym is everything. Fuck that. Like, you're not going to be an IFB pro bodybuilder. Sharp. Like, just stop listening to them and enjoy your fucking life.
Memories over macros is what Christian used to do.
Exactly. And like even myself, like I'll happily go to like 2-3 raves a year and absolutely love my life, have a great time. And will I feel a bit shit like the next week? Maybe. Like, will that take me a couple of days to get back into training? Maybe. Is it worth it? Absolutely. And will I do it again? Absolutely. Now, obviously, it comes to a time where, like in 2025, like when I prep, there won't be any raves at all. And obviously, Josh is the same. Like, obviously, when he prepped this year, like I know he's missing the raves this year. He's like absolutely gutted. But yeah, there won't be any of that, and there will be like a sacrifice in terms of like the prep, etc. But everything is like in reason, you know, like at the moment, like in off season, etc. Like, yeah, I'll happily go to a rave. Like I've got one in a few weeks, and I'm going to enjoy it, you know, like as long as you don't take the piss and like you just manage everything well, and you just plan it ahead. Like if you know in like next month you've got something on, like an event, whether it be like a drinking event, whether you're going away for the weekend, wherever it is, just then be like, right, I've got this to look forward to in a month. Let's dial it in for like 2 weeks. So then by the time the event comes around, you've had a solid runway of progressions in terms of like being on track with food, training, etc. That you can have this like time off and be a bit more chill about it. Because like definitely in terms of like, especially like younger people who are like starting out with training, like burnout is a massive thing. And it's something that AJ actually speaks to me quite a lot about. Like when I first started, was like, don't put so much pressure on yourself with like being the best bodybuilder as well. Like enjoy your life as well. Like do things outside of the gym. And that's a big thing he promotes to like his younger guys, is like just enjoy life outside of the gym as well, because it is really important. And that's why like he's supportive of me going to raves, and like he was like, yeah, go and enjoy yourself. Like it's not going to harm your progress,
I would
you know.
pay money. I would pay so much money to see AJ at a rave.
Like every time I go, the following check-in, I'm like, come on, mate, I think it's time to come to a rave. And I've convinced him.
Mate, he'd break through the floor like two-stepping with those calves. Are you insane?
I
That'd be
know. I'm
crazy.
trying my best to convince him. He said one year he was like, oh yeah, like I don't know when it was, but he was like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of doing like a Christmas like get together sort of thing. It didn't happen, but like in the future, I think it was like maybe around like lockdown or something. He was like, oh, in the future, I'd love to do like a Christmas lockdown, not lockdown, Christmas like party or something for the team. He was like, you could be on the decks, you know, we could organize a little rave, and then all of a sudden, everyone will cancel their direct debits the next day.
That'd be jokes, mate. That'd be
Yeah,
jokes. I think that's a perfect place to wrap up, mate.
yeah,
Yeah,
he is.
fantastic. All right. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. If you are watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Spotify, tag me and Charlie in your stories. Make sure you rate 5 stars, like
Make
and
sure it's five
comment.
stars.
Charlie, do you want to plug your socials where
Yeah, just Charlie. I think it's Charlie underscore Everall on Instagram. Yeah, pretty much that's it really. I don't really do YouTube at the moment, but coming soon, maybe in the future, maybe.
we can do a
But
little
yeah,
collab?
huh?
We can do a little collab.
Yeah, mate, we do a little collab.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. All right.
Uh,
Charlie, thank you for coming on. Thanks for
Thanks
listening,
for having me,
guys.
mate.
See you in the
Appreciate
next
it.
episode.